These are 15 journal prompts for December. I've split them into 3 categories. Timestamps will be in the description. I love journaling and I've done quite a few videos about journaling on my channel, so I'll link my journaling playlist, and I hope these inspire you to start journaling. The first category is journal prompts for a wider perspective, so like self-reflection journal prompts. One that is great to ask yourself in December. I know we have already started December, but you can journal about what are my goals for this month. This is something I do every month, reflecting on the past month's goals. Did I achieve what I wanted to achieve? And then setting goals for the new month. You can do this in any way you like. List different goals you want to achieve. You can do it in bullet points. You can pick 1 or 2 things that you really want to focus on this month. Another journal prompt. This one is good if you either really like this season or if you feel quite lethargic at this time of year. I've discovered I need quite a bit more sleep at this time of year than I do otherwise. I think just because it's dark all the time where I am, it feels quite oppressive at times, although I do also love, you can see I've got fairy lights on, so I do like creating a cozy atmosphere. But whether you love this season or it's not your favorite, you can journal about 5 things that you like this season or this December. So ask yourself, what are 5 things I like about this month? You may hate that it gets dark so early, you may hate that it's cold, but I bet even if you despise December, you can probably find 5 things that you do like about this month, whether that is hot chocolate or time inside with family or fairy lights, candles, lighting a fire, wrapping Christmas presents, or going around the shops and seeing loads of Christmas decorations. There will be 5 things. You can find them. Next, this is definitely a good one for getting a wider perspective. Write your highlights of the year. I'm working on a whole separate video about how to prepare for 2024, which will be out soon. Subscribe if you would like to see that. But that is definitely one of the things to reflect on in terms of preparing for the new year. Write out the highlights of this year, and then think about how you can take those good things, continue to replicate that in the new year. This again can be a bullet point list, or you can pick out 5 big events that are the 5 big highlights, like the headlines from your year. I quite like with this to focus on the small things as well as the big things. So a big thing might be like, oh, I went to my friend's wedding and supported them and that was a really nice occasion and that really stands out. But equally, a highlight of the year could be something really small, like, oh, I started getting into journaling and that's something that I'm really happy I've done, or I've started getting up earlier. I'm all about the little things. What little things can you pick out of this year that might otherwise go unnoticed? Related to the highlights of the year is lessons from the year. This is taking any bad, stressful, difficult situations that you've been through and looking for something in them. Have you learnt that you need to have stronger boundaries? As I was saying, maybe you've learnt that you need to listen to your body more and you might need more sleep in this season. Maybe you feel constantly harried or chaotic, and a lesson from that could be, I need to be more organised, and then clearly define what you could do for that. But this is also a journaling prompt, so you don't have to necessarily get into specifics. There are so many different ways you can go with this, right? Free writing is really helpful in terms of responding instinctively to a question. So taking any one of the prompts that we're talking about and just writing the first thing that comes to mind. And free writing is great to do typed because then you can really keep up with the speed of your thoughts. Instinctively, when you hear highlights of the year or lessons from this year, what is coming up? Write those things down. Another one that's great for getting a wider perspective is, what's something that I will miss about this season when it's gone? And this is particularly great if you are not a winter person and you really don't enjoy this time of year. The grass is always greener. And yes, we can say, I much prefer spring to winter, or I much prefer autumn to winter. But even so, there are probably elements to this season that you will miss when it comes to spring. So you might be enjoying the fact that you can wear lots of cozy scarves or cozy socks. I've not got mine nearby, but I was going to show them. You may not like the fact that it's getting dark so early, but it's quite nice to have fairy lights going or your candles going. I have recently been enjoying Christmas walks where I walk around my neighborhood and I see people who've put up lights on their house already, or they've already got their Christmas tree up inside. That is something that I will miss from this season, because it's clearly that's not going to be something that's carrying on into January. Yes, people might leave lights up on their house into January, but certainly it won't be anything Christmas themed. And another journal prompt to get this wider perspective and to have some self-reflection is, am I really present in this season, or is time passing me by? And this is again where you can bring in the little moments, the little things, and think, am I appreciating the small things, or is everything going by in a blur? And this could be both for good or bad reasons, right? You might be really busy at this time of year, catching up with old friends or seeing family, and that might be great, but you also might feel like just time is going really fast and you're not that present. Or equally, if you don't like this time of year, you might just be trying to zone out of it and be absent from it. And that is tempting, but it's always much more rewarding. And if we're doing something about self-reflection here, which this journal prompt is about self-reflection, you can ask yourself, why then do I want to zone out, or why am I not being present? And try and then focus on little things that you do like. And this isn't about it being a difficult time of year, because I think that advice that I just gave is not appropriate there. So ignore that if there's a deeper reason as to why this isn't the time of year for you. We are going to talk about that a little later on. So those are some wider perspective, self-reflective journal prompts that you can use. Now let's talk about ones that will help you reflect on the day. So these are best done in the evening. I tend to journal in the evening, particularly in this season. When it was summer or spring, I quite liked journaling in the morning, but now with it being winter, it just feels like the evening is a better time for self-reflection. Here are some journal prompts for today. The first one I quite like is, what is one little wintry moment that I can pick from today? What did I appreciate today? So the other day it snowed a bit, so that would have gone on my list. Or did you make yourself a hot chocolate? Or did you go buy a fancy hot chocolate? Was it frosty, so it looked really pretty, and as the sun was rising, you could see the frost glittering on people's houses? A wintry moment. Did you enjoy wearing a particular scarf that you can't wear at any other time of year? I certainly have a few of these where they are just way too warm and cozy to be worn in even autumn. It has to be really cold, so I'm enjoying wearing those scarves. The next couple of prompts are about reconnecting with your body, because this is a really important step in terms of self-care, and that's really big for me in recovery. The first one is, did I wear enough layers today? At this time of year, my hands can get quite dry because it's so cold, and so if at the end of the day I ask myself, did I wear enough layers today? And I can tell by my hands, like, nope, maybe I need to wear 2 pairs of gloves. That is going to help me take better care of myself the next day. Similarly, are you still wearing like your autumn clothes, and really now you need to be wearing like your winter coat? It's such a small thing, and you might be like, why is that important? But I just think it's really important to stay connected with what you feel throughout the day, which brings us on to the next prompt, which you can ask yourself in the morning or in the evening, which is, what is the temperature today and how do I feel in my body? This is kind of related to the one we just did, except it is a bit broader, because the other one is about what layers did I wear today. So this one you can answer in whatever way you like. I mean, all of them you can obviously answer in whatever way you like. But for this one, for example, I quite like to go for a walk in the morning. I've noticed that when it's really cold, it can take a bit of time to warm up, and for the first 5 minutes of the walk I'm just thinking, I want to go back inside, it's too cold for me to be walking. But once I get into it, I notice that I warm up a bit and I'm okay. And I've also noticed that if I wear more layers at the beginning and then I can get rid of those layers, that also helps me to feel better at the beginning. This one is more broad, and again, it's just about reconnecting with yourself, because we can get really caught up in all of the thoughts that are happening in our head, and it's just helpful to have a journaling prompt that will remind you to reconnect with your body. Another one to ask yourself, did I notice the frost today? Maybe it wasn't a frosty day, but we've had a few where I live. This is about making sure, as we talked about, that you're present. So are you noticing something small? Are you appreciating it? Or are you letting these things pass you by? Are you too busy and not paying attention? I'll just leave that question with you. You probably know the answer. You can also journal about, what are my December favorites so far? Have you been watching a particular TV show this past week? Have you been listening to, for example, Christmas music? Are you watching like Christmas episodes of your favorite TV shows? I need to find like a list online somewhere of all of the Christmas episodes of different series, and then I can watch them. I'm quite excited to do that. Just look at the media you've been consuming in the last week or so far in December. Just ask yourself, like, what have I been enjoying? What are my December favorites? This is again about bringing awareness and appreciating what you're consuming. So for example, I've recently for some reason got into watching The Big Bang Theory. I know that in the future, if I look back on this time, because I do tend to associate different shows or different music, different albums with specific periods of my life, in the future I'm going to look back and be like, oh yeah, I was really into The Big Bang Theory then, the same way that I look back on like March of this year and think, oh, I was really into Law and Order, or June of last year and I think, oh, I was really into watching House. What are your December faves so far? Another prompt to ask yourself today, what festive or Christmassy things do I need to use? Do you have like Christmas socks or a Christmas t-shirt? Do you have Christmas decorations for your room that you have forgotten about? Set a 5-minute timer, put on a song, a Christmas song even. Have a look through like your jewelry box or your wardrobe, your bookcase, and see if you have festive decorations or things that you need to use, because this is the time of year to use them and we need to be appreciating the stuff that we have. I understand if you're not feeling Christmassy, because I sometimes feel like I'm having to put on a front and be like, oh yes, Christmas, and inside I'm just not feeling it. So I understand if you're like hesitant to do this, but we have talked before about acting the way you want to feel. So if you do want to feel a bit more festive, even if you're not now, it could help you to just get out a few Christmas things, or like wear your Christmas jumper. Something for you to think about. The next category of journal prompts that I wanted to talk about are journaling prompts where you're keeping others in mind. So journaling, as we talked about, is a very self-reflective activity, and that's great because it's bringing awareness into your life and helping you notice things throughout the day. Love that. But it can get quite, not self-centered, but we need to remember that any of the changes that we want to make in ourselves, any of the positive changes, we're doing those things in service of others. So you can only help other people if you're feeling in a good place yourself. Otherwise, you're just constantly focused on you. While it is good to write about ourselves and get to know ourselves better, we're doing that with a goal of then hoping to bring something to the world, as opposed to just staying in our own heads, staying in our own boxes. So this last category is about stuff you can do for other people. So if we start off with something Christmassy, what presents can I give to others? This is just like a fun, light journaling prompt. You can go into detail about like what someone got you for your birthday or for your Christmas last year and what you want to get them. Are there things throughout the year that you've picked up for people and you think, oh, I think they'll like this, I think they'll like that? Just really be thinking in depth, try and get like thoughtful presents. And this can be difficult because you might have a different perception of what a thoughtful present is. So I know some people don't think that books are that thoughtful. They're like, oh, anyone can buy a book. And I'm like, I only will buy someone a book if it's a book that either I think they'll really like, or if it's a book that I've read and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want you to read this. So for me, a book is a really thoughtful gift. So it can be hard thinking about like, oh, I want to give them something that they'll like, because you never know. But those things are all out of your control. You can't control what other people are thinking. You can only think about your intentions and being like, I'm going to try and get this person a thoughtful gift. What thoughtful gifts can you get for someone? Instead of just like rushing or waiting to the last minute, start planning these things, start thinking about these things now. Another prompt or another thing, a question to ask yourself and to think about is, who can I call and spread some festive Christmas cheer? Just who can I call and check in with? And you might think this is about you. So you might be like, oh, but I don't want to call them because they're so busy. It's a busy time of year. I don't want to bother anyone. You're making it about you then. Like, get out of your own way. Check in with someone else and they might really appreciate you calling. So if you can just ask yourself, who can I call? Ponder that question. Not in terms of like, who would want to hear from me, but just like, who do I know who's been struggling, or who would really like to hear from me? And that can be a difficult thing to think, because you're like, well, no one would want to hear from me. But I promise you, people do want to hear from you. We can just get in our own way a lot. And if someone doesn't want to talk to you, they won't pick up the phone. Like, it's not that deep. And if they do want to talk to you, then they'll call you back. But equally, if they don't call you back, that doesn't mean they don't want to talk to you. It could just be that they're really busy. If you've read the 4 agreements, you'll know one of the agreements is to stop taking things personally. And I think we can apply this here in this instance as well. Who can you call to spread some festive cheer? Who can you call and check in with? That links to the last journaling prompt, and something that I think we do need to be aware of. Christmas can be a difficult time of year for a lot of people. So the last prompt and the last list, if you are doing like bullet points or free writing, the last thing that you can think on and write about is, how can I be kind to people who struggle with this season? And this is either people, as we talked about, who don't like winter in general. Maybe they struggle with seasonal affective disorder, or maybe they just don't like the fact that it gets dark so early. If you work a 9 to 5, it's dark by the time you leave work, which is not nice. It goes for people like that, but also people who are struggling with grief, or who just find this season difficult because they're not having a great time and they're not enjoying life. And it seems like there's this forced like jollity. Is jollity a word? But it feels like this time where we have to be like, oh, I'm so grateful, I'm so glad. And we need to remember there's space for everything. There's space to feel grateful, but also space to feel sad. Whatever you're feeling is valid, and that's also why I like journaling. It gives you space to write about whatever you're feeling, express that, and once you've expressed it to yourself, that's like validating yourself. I've done a few videos about self-validation, so I will link one of them for you if you want to watch that, because journaling is definitely a form of self-validation. This prompt about people who struggle with this season, I want you to both write about this, but also just bear this in mind as we navigate this season, and it may probably be something that you're already aware of, but I think it's worth restating. Try and be thoughtful about this and think about ways that you can support other people or acknowledge that other people may be struggling. So I hope some of these December journaling prompts have sparked something in you. Maybe you've noted down a few as we've been going through them and thought, yes, I want to try that one. That sounds like it will be good. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm thinking of doing a few more of these videos because it's really fun to come up with these journaling prompts, and I do enjoy journaling. Like I love it so much. I feel like I have more to share with you. So yes, please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I will link my 10 reasons you need to start journaling. If you've made it to the end and you're still on the fence about whether you want to try journaling, please watch that, because I go into 10 reasons why journaling is so good and it has really changed my life. I will also leave a self-validation video, probably how to validate yourself in 3 easy steps. That is a great beginner's guide to self-validation, as we talked about. That's part of what journaling is. Thank you so much for watching. God bless, and I will see you in the next one.